Hello everyone and welcome back to the part 2 in the Power Apps attachment control. This is the part 1 video. If you have not followed this video, please go ahead and revisit it. This video has also got a formula out here, which I have used in my Power Apps button. So make sure that you set up the Power Apps, copy the formula. For this particular video, I have added a button and there's no formula associated with it. What I need to do in this particular demo is that I want to send the files that I attach in this attachment control over an email. So to do that, let me first go ahead and quickly click on this button, and I'm setting a variable known as file data, right? So this is what I'm going ahead and doing. So let's create a new flow. That's the first thing that we need to do. So I'll create from blank. This is a trigger. I'll add the input. I'll add the text input. And I'll name this text input file content. Now that I have that, I will just go ahead and add a compose out here, because or else it will not let me save my flow, and I'll pass in the file content. I'll give this flow a meaningful name. I'll say email attachments. So what we are going to do, we are going to send the emails attachments over the email. Perfect. So here you see that my flow is trying to get added. In the meantime, what I can do is I can go to make.powerautomate.com. So the flow has been added. If I click on the trigger at this point, now I can associate my flow out here and I can say it needs a text input. So I can say file data. So I'm passing the file data into my Power Automate. Let me quickly go ahead and attach few documents. Perfect. So I have attached few documents or images out here. What I need to do is I'll click on this button. In the previous tutorial, we saw that how we go ahead and populate the file content. Next, I will click on the trigger and this should trigger my Power Automate. So if I go to my flows and if I click on email attachment, this is the flow that we went ahead and worked with. I'll just click on the back button. And here, my friends, we have triggered a flow from Power Apps. And this is how it looks. At this point, this is all good. Now let's go ahead and actually send these attachments that we have captured over the email. So first and foremost, I need to create a variable, initialize variable. I'll just say the variable name is attachment array. ATTA stands for attachments, and I want this to be of type array. So this is good. This looks good. Next, I want to go ahead and convert the output into a JSON format. So I'll just put in compose JSON, right? So what do I want? I want the trigger body, correct? And I want the text. Now, if you're wondering why am I passing the text, let me go ahead and first save it. Now let me go back and let's revisit the flow run that we actually went ahead and saw. So here you see that we have a property of type text, and text actually holds the file content. Okay, that is the reason I'm passing in text. Now, before moving ahead, let's see if we get a meaningful JSON. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and test it. Automatically succeeded, and then test. Here in my compose, if I click on download out, here my friends, I actually get the file, right? So this is what I'm going to copy and add the parse JSON action. I'll give it a payload like this. If you see, it returns the file, which is actually the data URI, and then you see the file name. So for the file name, what I'm going to do is, and the file name itself. So here I need to pass in the file content. So I'll click on dynamic, the output of the compose, because this holds the JSON, right? Next, what I'm going to do is now we are going to set up the array such that the array can be passed inside the send an email action. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type in compose and let me compose a string. Now, when I say that, if you look at the output carefully, this actually returns a data URI. So we need only the base 64. As we need the base 64, we first need to get rid of the first part of the string. Secondly, I also see a double quote out here, which might be problematic. So we need to remove the double quotes, and that will give us, or you can say, the string that we need to pass in. Okay, so let's first try to split the string such that we get the value out of it. Okay, so I'm going to type in split, and what I'm going to split out here is want to split the dynamic content, the body of the file, and I want to split it with reference to a comma. And then what I want to retrieve the first array, not the 0th element, the first element of the array, because the 0th element will have data URI in it. Or you can say it will have data image / PNG colons base 64. We don't need that. We need the value. Next that we have this is I'm going to type in replace, and I'm going to use this string, and I'll say replace any double quotes with a blank string, and I'll add this formula. Now that I have this formula out here, I'm going to add an action, and I'll type in append to array variable. I'll pass in this array, and I need to pass in array structure. Now, how will I get the array structure? To get the array structure, the easiest option would be to put in and send an email action like this. Let's configure that later, and click on show all, and I'll say add an item, and I'll click on this. So this is what we need. You can copy this and put it in out here because it's already going to be an array. We can get rid of the brackets from here, and this is how our array structure would look like. So to this array structure, we need to pass in output of the compose, but the output of the compose is base 64. So what I need to do is I can say type in base 64 to binary. And to this, I'm going to pass in the compose 2, which actually holds our base 64-bit string. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass in the file name. File name, I think I can pass in directly. So say body file name. Perfect. Now that I have this configured, let me actually put in Alex. Just say test email. And what I'm going to do is I'll clear this out. Where's my attachments now? Show all, click on this, remove this, and just pass in the variable. At this point, our flow has been created, and it's time to test our flow. So I'll click on save, and I'll test with our previous run. Let's hope that we don't get any errors, because our flow might break. Yes, the trigger actually breaks. So what I need to do, I need to go back out here. I need to click on trigger. I need to go ahead and first try to refresh it. Let's see if that resolves the problem. Okay, so I'll say email. I'll also remove the formula and re-add it. The same formula, no changes on that, and file data like this. And now I'm going to click on play, and I'll try to trigger this flow. Okay, the flow has triggered. Now let's go back into our Power Automate, and we see that 7 seconds ago something succeeded. What something succeeded? Our flow succeeded. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my Outlook in a new window. I see there is a test email. And here, if you see, there are attachments. Now let's test it not only with attachments. I want to take it a little bit forward, and I want to test it with attaching two files out here. I'll click on the button such that we get the updated string, and then I'll trigger the flow. So here, if you see, we have the PDF attachments, but wait, we also have the images. So it seems that there's something wrong with my Power Apps. So let's quickly look at the variables. So I click on variables out here, and I have two collections. One collection is the file collection, and the file content has 4 values. That means that when I click on this button, I clear the file collection, but I don't clear the file content collection. So I need to do that as well. So I can just say clear file content. And once I clear that, I think this should be better now. So I can firstly get rid of this, get rid of this. Let me add two files here. So I have added two files out here. So let me click on the button. So the button is clicked. I go back quickly and check the variables. They look correct. And I can just trigger my flow right now. And let's look at the output right now. So my flow is running perfect and it's gone through just fine. So if I go back and if I refresh my Outlook out here, I have an email and I have an email. This is the latest one. And if you see, there are two Word documents. Let's do a final test before we conclude. So I just clear these two off. And this time I'm going to attach PDFs. Okay. So what I have done is that I have attached three documents. I'll quickly click on the button. Let's go ahead and revisit the variables to just make sure that it's correct. So there are three rows, which looks awesome. And at this point, I can trigger my flow. So my flow has succeeded 8 seconds ago. If I go back, I have an email and this time I have got all three attachments out here. I hope this quick demo was informative. Thank you for your time. Have a great day and bye-bye.